Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard, you don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart, yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. It's a pleasure to be back with you again today. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and we have a very special show for you. Our world is going through turmoil, tumult, and we need solutions. Before we start the show, many of you have wanted to become subscribers and be availed of all the previous episodes that we've done. Very simple. Go on YouTube, click on A Time for Truth show, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be very happy to have you as one of our team, one of our family. So, as I mentioned to you, there's much going on in our world, really globally, not just nationally, not just at a community level, but globally. It seems like we have so much technology, but we're losing our humanity. We're losing our integrity. And the morality is a word that I think somehow is going to disappear from our dictionaries. And tonight, we have some very special guests who have gone through their own horrible experience, and we're very lucky to have them with us today. Engineer, if you would put their pictures up on the screen, I want to introduce this beautiful couple, His Royal Highness Tomas Reyes Cabili II, Sultan Dimasangkay Kayo Rano Ikato. He's an Asian Sultan of Arab, Syrian, Chinese, and Spanish descent. And then you see him with his lovely wife, Remedios. They make a wonderful team together, a very strong and dedicated team. The Sultan is a citizen of the United States and the Philippines, as his wife, Remedios. And he's honorary vice consul of Montenegro, along with his wife, by Remedios Salas Pastor. Then you see them both together. Remedios speaks from an Asian, American, and European voice, and both together, along with Jorge the Tagle that you saw in that previous picture, have presented the United Declaration of Peace and are coordinating a Way to Happiness program to bring back integrity to our world. This United Declaration of Peace is a timely and historic initiative that focuses on civilization, unity, integrity, human and women's rights, temperance on illicit drugs, and respect for each other's religious beliefs. And engineer, if you will, if you bring them up live on the screen, I want to bid a warm welcome to His Royal Highness Tomas Reyes Cabili, and his wife, by Remedios Salas Pastor, to a Time for Truth show. Welcome.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches, or buenos dias. We're here in the Philippines, so it's good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. And
Good morning to everyone from the Sultanate of Lanao. We're here in Mindanao in the Philippines, and thank you for having us.
Oh, it's a great pleasure and an honor. And I believe in always recognizing our friends and comrades. And so at the beginning of the show, we're going to recognize Datu Jorge the Tagla, who can't be on the show tonight, but who is an inspiration and is dedicated to bringing peace and harmony to our world, and introduced me to you two, such a wonderful couple. Sultan, I want to start with you first, and I'll ask questions back and forth between you. This is a question for you, Sultan. Please tell us about your family heritage.
it's not true.
Yes, our family heritage come from a long line of different nationalities, and our forefathers came to the Philippines from Syria, and lived here in the southern Mindanao, in Lanao, back in the Spanish time. And my father became the first senator here in the Philippines, three-term congressman, three-term senator during the 50s.
Your mother, Chinese.
And my mother is has a Chinese blood and Spanish and Filipino descent.
Very interesting.
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
so it's quite a mixture of all different nationalities, bloodline.
Well, you know what? It's so interesting because I don't know if you knew, but my family was from Europe, from Poland and Russia, and we moved to Cuba. And I was born in Havana, Cuba, and yo hablo español, as your wife Remedios say. It's in New York, it's buenas noches. In Philippines, it's buenos dias. And right now, we're in New York, where I immigrated with my family. So it's very interesting that this show is a melting pot, which really makes sense because we're going to be talking about something that's affecting the whole globe, affecting all of the countries, all of the religions. But before we get to that, I want to ask you by Remedios, because I know my wife always tells the stories of how we met, so I'm going to present this one to you. Is tell us how you and the Sultan both initially met.
Well, recollecting, it was the birthday of my best friend, Sweet 16, and that's where we met. Sultan was a guest because she's eyeing on him. He likes him to be her boyfriend. But being her best friend and being very busy at that time because she was the celebrant, she asked me to really take care of Tom. So that's where we met, and that's how we got to know each other because I really took care of him as requested by my best friend.
Well, very interesting. You know, Life has a very interesting way how things that are supposed to happen, some people call it coincidences. I don't think there's any coincidence in life. And it's interesting how the world and God brought you two together, and what you're doing in your life. Sultan, I'm going to ask this question to you now. What led you, Sultan, to seek a universal declaration of peace?
It's all started from they found me after 65 years and bestowed me as a sultan way back about 4 years ago when I came back from the US to the Philippines, that we were absent in our sultanate for that long. And since we are uh, retiring, supposed to be in the Philippines, we opted to do something for our locality and be with the people that my father had worked with during the early 50s. And he was the hero of Lanao. So I dedicated myself when they bestowed me, and now I'm doing all the things that in my power to continue the Muslim Christian, peace in Mindanao. So I declared the peace with the Way to Happiness Foundation together with my Tomas Cabili Foundation, so we can do the declaration in actual, implementation in our province.
Very good. Makes total sense. Conglomerating and bringing groups together creates agreement, creates harmony, creates a flow, and gives more power to what we're trying to do. And you have a very important mission, you and your wife, in regards to the world. I want to ask you this question for you. So, by Remedios, how is it that how did you discover this Way to Happiness Foundation? Please tell us.
Well, in way back in 2014, the tragic thing happened. My son was assassinated, and my son Enzo was the champion of the race car in the Philippines, and he's an international icon. And I wondered why and who would do such a thing to a man of goodwill. And I was so devastated, and the family was really affected. And so I didn't know what to do at the time until the day that when I was seeking for justice for my son. I went to the generals here in Manila, and there I saw a long lost friend for 15 years. That's Jerry Perez de Tagle. And he was about to introduce the Way to Happiness to the generals, actually, to the top military people in the Philippines. And so I asked him about this book that he was introducing, and he handed me the book, and it was beautiful, actually. I'm talking about this book, The Way to Happiness book. There. So somehow, at that very low time, I needed to do to have a friend. So he spoke about this book, and he said, "Just read it, Remy, and this is something that may help you." So I read it, and it struck me because all the precepts as I go through it had resonated in what happened until it got to me that this is something that I really need to lift me up at that time. But when I found and the news came about that the 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 one who shot my son was a police officer, that really got me fiery to really go out and use the book, because it says do not murder, and this policeman is not supposed to murder, but he has a responsibility to protect every individual
Hard. Ano siya?
in our place, and supposed to be a man of integrity, and here he was doing the opposite. So I went straight to our friend, then Mayor Duterte, he wasn't the president yet, and asked for his help. That I want to have this book printed. Help me, please, to distribute to all the policemen because they need it. It states the 21 precepts that they have to be reminded of, and that I feel would help the whole of the battalion, the police officers here in the Philippines. And the kind mayor at the time was indeed very generous to print 7,000 books, which I requested. And Jerry at the time, because I wasn't as good as talking about it, I asked the help of Jerry to help to create a seminar, a huge one where all almost all the 5,000 policemen should be present. So, and we had a guest at the time, the singer, I forgot his name. Anyway, so that was a very good entrance of this, of my advocacy. So from then on, as they hear about this, testimonials left and right came out of the newspaper, and that it helped so many police officers to see the difference of not knowing and knowing what ethics and morals is supposed to be. So that's how I got to it. And the decaying country, which is at the time almost getting into drugs, and a lot of pushers touching on the reaching even our children to use drugs, that got to me to promise myself to distribute these books in every household of the community. So I'm still working on the big task because the Philippines is separated in different islands. So I asked Sultan, who at the time was busy in Mindanao, to put up the Way to Happiness Foundation here in the Philippines. So with the kind help of Jerry, the Perez de Tagle, we registered the Way to Happiness here in the Philippines. And that became a very good foundation for us to move forward and reach out even to the mayors of the land and to all the elected officials to have this book and be guided. Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. And my deep sorrow for something that can never be recovered. It's horrible. I recently lost my sister and my mother a few years ago, so losing a family member is very difficult. The son is even more. And so I understand totally why, and why this book also is so important for the world. Let's play a chapter, engineer, if you will. Let's play a chapter out of the book so that the viewers get a chance to see what this way to happiness is. And if you have that video ready, do you have that video ready, engineer? Yes, sir. Let's play that video, please.
Do not murder. Most races, from the most ancient times to the present, have prohibited murder and punished it heavily. Sometimes this has been broadened to say, "Thou shalt not kill," when a later translation of the same work has found it to read, "Thou shalt not murder." There is a considerable difference between these two words, kill and murder. A prohibition against all killing would rule out self-defense. It would tend to make it illegal to handle a serpent coiling to strike the baby. It would put a race on a diet of vegetables. I am sure you can see many illustrations of the difficulties raised by a prohibition against all killing. Murder is another thing entirely. By definition, it means the unlawful killing of one or more human being by another, especially with malice aforethought. One can easily see that in this age of violent weaponry, murder would be all too easy. One could not exist in a society where oneself or one's family or friends were at the mercy of some who went about casually taking lives. Murder justly bears the highest priority in social prevention and retaliation. The stupid, the evil, and the insane seek to solve their real or imagined problems with murder, and they have been known to do it for no reason at all. Get behind any demonstratedly effective program that handles this threat to mankind and push. Your own survival could depend upon it. The way to happiness does not include murdering, or your friends, your family, or yourself being murdered.
So, Sultan, let me ask you, what world conditions, Sultans, do you see that you feel the way to happiness will improve?
We would like to outreach to the most affected areas in Mindanao where it's war-torn, war-torn, meaning it's been rehabilitated now, and for the children who suffered during the war-torn, times. To rehabilitate the children, we distribute this book, and we held seminars on the locality so that they can recover from this stigma.
Very good. Bai, I have a question for you. So, aside from your position as global dignitaries, as parents, grandparents, what message, Bai, do you want to give our viewers on this show as we're nearing the end of the show? So what message would you like to give our viewers watching?
With the way to happiness as being as a tool, which I found to be very effective, we have the chance to straighten our lives, to make a choice, to lead powerfully by avoiding the edges of the road, by avoiding this all the crimes and murdering, taking bad chemicals, exploiting, being bad to your neighbors and all that. I feel that this is the right time because our generation at this time is already almost at the peak of decay, and I have a sense that the great late L. Ron Hubbard's teaching of these 21 precepts is something that we can hang on to and share with our family. And because without any guidance, and I believe this is a very good guide for us parents, teachers, to reach out to our children, to our friends, starting from our family.
I agree with you totally. And unfortunately, we've reached the end of our show. But I thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time and for being willing to go through again. I know it's a very difficult situation for you. For those viewers watching, let's listen and heed the words of the Sultan and his wife by Remedios. Let's work while we can. As they said, let's educate before more tragedy occurs. As the Sultan and his Bai have said, our world seems to be dissolving and deteriorating around us. We have tremendous technological advances, but applying this Way to Happiness book, as Bai and the Sultan said from Mr. Hubbard, we can reach a common sense agreement. And if we have a common sense approach that's simple, it will work because we all can agree, all the religions, all the races. Thank you so much, Sultan and Bai, for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Ben.
It's our pleasure to have you on the show. We want to thank Datu Jerry Perez de Tagle, who couldn't be here tonight, but he is here in spirit with us. We send our love to the Philippines and to all the people in that part of the world. And for those of you watching, let's bring humanity forward. We have enough technology. It's time for humanity. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet